Welcome. My name is Frannie Hargadon, and I'm a pastry chef. And I've worked at about 5 different bakeries in the area here and in the surrounding suburbs. And it's my joy to be here to teach and to instruct on how to do not only decorating, but enjoying the decorations that you're going to make, because they don't only look pretty, they taste good too. It's about my 8th year doing this. We do different seasons. So today we are working on the holiday season. So we're going to do some Christmas items. The take and bake today was the Bûche de Noël, which is what this will look like or thereabouts. So the decorations that we're going to be making today can be used most definitely for that or any other holiday cake that you decide to put it on. We're going to do 3 if we have extra time. I have a secret 4th that we can do. But first we are going to start with making a meringue mushroom. Now the meringue mushrooms are very, very easy to make. You can either use meringue powder or egg white. It's very simple ingredients. It's sugar and either the meringue powder or egg white and water. And then you bake them very slowly at a low temperature, and you get one of these beautiful things that are in front of you. These light and airy. If you want to pick one up and look at it, it's very light and airy. It almost feels like styrofoam. And this is the texture you want. So if you do bake them at home, this is the texture that you want to have, because this will hold up and you can keep these for a while. If you don't cook them long enough, for my friends at home that have the recipe for it and the meringue powder to make it, if you don't cook them long enough, they will be very tacky, and then they'll start to flatten, and they won't last as long. So make sure you follow the directions completely for the full baking. But you, my friends here, already have the finished product, and hopefully you at home have done them as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this together and make a mushroom. You have a couple different ones. You have the stem, the larger stem, and the larger cap. And then you also have a smaller stem and a smaller cap. So we're going to make 2. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our little knife. You have a little plastic knife. And we're going to make a small indentation. We're going to take our cap and we're going to flip it over. And you're going to make a small indentation, just kind of circular. Put the knife in the center and just kind of spin it. You're just making a spot for that stem to go into. So don't do too much pressure and don't go too deep. All right? And if anyone breaks one, raise your hand. We'll bring you another one. All right? So we're using the cap right now, and we're making that indentation. And you should all have also a little cup of delicious chocolate frosting. This is going to be our mushroom glue. You know how the mushroom has that beautiful little, it almost feels velvety on the inside, that little bit of brown. So we're going to take, I think the spoon works best for this. You're going to take a little bit of that frosting, and you're going to put it to the center, but you're also going to spread it very gently, and you got to be kind of careful here, because again, you don't want to break that mushroom. You're going to spread it around the bottom of the mushroom cap until you've completely covered the bottom of the mushroom. And this is the fun part. It's going to start looking like a mushroom very soon. Then you're going to take your stem after you've done that, and that's when the magic happens. Let's make sure we have this completely done here. All right. Perfect, perfect. And you at home, you could use, you can make your own frosting. This is, the frosting that we have here is a homemade frosting. Very basic. It is cocoa powder, powdered sugar, vanilla, milk, and margarine. And I'll leave my email address with the library, so if anybody would like that recipe, I can definitely email it to them. But you can use a canned frosting just as well. All right, once you've done that, you're going to take your stem and you're going to place it in the center of the mushroom. You're going to do a little pressure, not too much. Again, these are delicate and you don't want them to break. If anyone has broken theirs or popped through, please raise your hand and I can get you another one. All right. And then we're going to, once you've done that, you can take the back of your knife and you can make little lines. I don't know if we can zoom in here. Am I on this guy here? I'm going to go close so you can see. We're going to make little lines here so it looks like how the mushroom has those little indentations. There we go. So this is where we should be at right now. So we're going to take a sifter. You should have a sifter in the center. Mine's bigger. I used a bigger one so that you can easily see. And we put a little cocoa in that sifter. Okay. Now before we sift, we have paintbrushes. We're going to put the paintbrush, you're just going to kind of dip it a little bit in that cocoa. And we're just going to paint the base of the mushroom with a little bit of the cocoa. See how that's starting to look like, kind of like just a little dirty little mushroom that you get out of the ground. You're giving it texture, you're highlighting, and again, not too much pressure. Maybe go in on where the little indentations look, and it starts to look like a little mushroom. You could use your finger too to smooth a little bit. So again, we're going to do that little bit of dusting with the paintbrush and the cocoa powder just to give it a little more dimension. Now this is the fun part. You know how the top of the mushroom has those cute little, almost looks like freckles. That is where our sifter comes in. You're just going to shake it above the top of your mushroom. And then it's going to start to look like that, like a little mushroom from the forest. If you wanted to kind of rub your finger along the end, and it gives it a bit more dimension. And there you go. There's your little forest mushroom. And then this goes really, really well on the Bûche de Noël. We can put it right here. And there we go. Now you have a smaller mushroom, so when you're done with your larger one, you can continue and go ahead and go on to your second mushroom. And you're going to follow the same process. And again, when you do these mushrooms and you pipe them, for those at home who are doing the recipe themselves, or for you, if you'd like to do a recipe at home, it's good to have different sizes of the mushrooms. So don't be afraid if they come a little lumpy, a little bumpy. That is how it's supposed to look. That's natural. And it will give a more realistic look to your mushrooms. Now meringue, if you are going to use these, it's better to make them, put them together, as the mushroom, as you need them. If you want to make the meringue ahead of time, you definitely can do that. It lasts up to 2 weeks in an airtight container, but that's before you put the frosting on. Once you put that frosting on and make it into the mushroom, the time that it lasts deteriorates by like 2 to 3 days, because as I said, the moisture in the frosting will leach into the meringue and it will make it soft and deflate the meringue. So you can make the meringue ahead of time, but assemble the mushrooms day of or perhaps day before you will be doing your Bûche de Noël for your holiday. Okay? All right. Okay, so now a bûche de Noël, you can decorate with just the mushrooms. You could pipe some little frosting green leaves on there if you wanted to kind of just continue with this. But sometimes it's really nice to put some marzipan fruits on the end of the bûche de Noël. It adds a little pop of color, and it's just really pretty. And marzipan can be very tasty. Marzipan is basically almond, sugar, egg white, and flavoring. So it's not an extremely extravagant list of items to make it. You could buy either the marzipan ready-made in the store, or you can buy almond paste and make it into marzipan. The only thing you can't do is you can't make marzipan into almond paste. Can't go backwards. So the marzipan that you're going to be working with today was made from almond paste. It is almond paste, and it is powdered sugar, and it is egg whites. Now the egg whites are raw. However, I do get the pasteurized, pre-prepared egg white. So it's as safe as it can be. It can sit out for 10 to 12 hours on your party table or when you're doing things. But for storage reasons, keep it in the fridge overnight so that you don't get any kind of contamination. All right, so marzipan is an interesting item. You can kind of color it before you use it. However, the best way to make marzipan is to paint it. So you have a little cup of powdered sugar in front of you. If it's a little too sticky, sprinkle a little bit on your paper. Dust your fingers with it. And it doesn't take much to make it very easy to use. All right. Now this is the fun part. You get to pick your fruit. I happen to like, when I do marzipan, 3 different fruits. I like oranges, I like peaches, and I like strawberries because I think they're so pretty together and they have, such a nice color to them. First, we're going to start with a little orange. So you're going to take a ball about the size of a large marble, about that size. About that size. Okay, we're going to start with that. And you're just going to kind of knead it and work it and roll it until it's, a good round size. Again, we're making fruit. They're natural items. If it's not a perfect circle, if it's a little more oblong, that's okay. It lends to the, the uniqueness of what you're making. All right. Now, when you're doing fruits, they have a texture. You want to put that texture into the fruit, into the marzipan before you paint it. Because after you paint it, if you start doing different things and making indentations into it, then you're going to have this odd color where it's going to be like, like putting a hole in drywall. You're going to see it. So with an orange has that kind of texture. So you have your knife. It's a very easy thing to take the knife and roll it and roll it and roll it and just kind of mark it with your knife. And you get that texture. It takes a little bit, but it actually works out. Just be very gentle on how you hold it. Because marzipan is soft, the texture that you're putting into it will not hold unless you kind of dent it a little harder than you think you should. Okay? And once you have that texture, now if you have something at home, like I've seen this before, which is kind of interesting. If you were to take a piece of paper towel or napkin, if it has a texture to it, you could also gently roll it along there. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it gives the texture of the paper. If you have a softer marzipan. A harder marzipan will not work. So that's why if you make it yourself, you control the amount of sugar. You can control the amount of egg white in there so that you'll actually be able to make that texture easier to pick up. Now you can also take the back of your paintbrush and do dots as well. These are all different ways to get texture. And you just see what works for you. If you have a lighter hand, then the knife will work better for you. If you have a heavier hand, the paintbrush might be the better route for you. But once you have that texture that you're happy with on there, we're going to paint this. All right, so you have some food colorings in front of you. The marzipan will take the least amount of, you want to paint it with the least amount of water. So what you're going to do is you're just going to dip your paintbrush in your water. You're not going to pour water into the food coloring. And the food coloring that you have in front of you is this here. It's a gel food coloring. They have all different kinds of brands. And believe it or not, the Betty Crocker brand and the Walmart brand are the same exact thing once you open the package. So you're just going to put your paintbrush in. And if you want to do this, I like to do this. I gave you a stick here. I like to put the marzipan on a stick so that I can paint it. That way I'm touching it the least amount. All right, so I'm going to dip my paintbrush in the water, and now I want orange. So I'm going to do a little bit of a mixing of a color. So I'm going to take the top corner of my parchment paper. I'm going to first dip in the red, put a little bit of red on my parchment paper, and then I'm going to dip in my yellow. I'm going to take more yellow than red. The red's a lot stronger. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, the middle one is red. The bottom one is green. So this is where you get to be your own kind of creative. How much red you want, how much yellow you want. And then once you get the color that you like, you just gently start to paint. So now I'm going to show you the other way to color marzipan. We're going to take a little piece of it. When you're done with that, we're going to take a little piece of the marzipan and we're going to dip just the tip of it in the green food coloring because we need to make the top of our orange. You could do brown if you wanted to do a little stem, but I like the green because I think it looks a little bit more, a little happier. So I'm doing just a little dip in the green. Now, if you want to put your glove on to do this, go right ahead. I don't mind having green fingers, but a lot of people don't like that, so you can put your glove on if you would like to not have the food coloring on your fingers because it will stain. It comes off later with some Comet if you've got that. But you can also color the marzipan this way. And there you go. Now, again, this is all a part of your getting creative. All I do is roll a very small ball of green, like that. And then I will take my orange and I will put it on the top where I had the stick through. Now I'm going to carefully make sure you don't have green on your fingers when you touch the bottom because you will color the bottom of your marzipan if you do have a different food coloring on. So I'm going to clean off my fingers, and then I'm going to take my marzipan gently off, pull through, and then I'm going to use that stick that I had, and I'm going to push in the center and give a little spin so it doesn't stick. And then I'm just going to kind of push down to the edge to make it look a little bit more like a little leaf. And there you go. There's your cute little marzipan orange. I'm going to put this on my Bûche de Noël. Right in the front. And see how it gives the Bûche de Noël a little pop of color? Now I'm going to start on my strawberry. I love making marzipan strawberries You can make a whole bunch of them in a little grouping. And the fun thing about marzipan is you don't have to make everything true to size. So you don't have to make your strawberries teeny tiny compared to your orange. They could be the same size. It's okay. No one's going to sit there and say, your strawberry is not the same size as your orange. They'll just like it and eat it because it tastes delicious. So for the strawberry, I'm going to do a double technique. I'm going to not only color the marzipan, but I'm going to paint it as well. So we're going to take the marzipan, and I'm going to add just a little bit of the powdered sugar to it because it was a little sticky. And I will tell you, once you add food coloring to marzipan, you're going to make it a little more sticky. The food coloring will do that. So don't be afraid to use more powdered sugar. It's just fine. So I'm going to do the dip method. Just dip the tip of it and fold it in on itself. And that's kind of a way to get it in there and doesn't get your fingers as bad. So the strawberry, we've gotten our our colored marzipan. And we're going to shape a strawberry. Now the easiest way to shape a strawberry, start from a circle. So you roll a ball. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put pressure on one side of the strawberry. And you're just going to roll it in your hand. And you're only going to put pressure on one side. And if you notice, it starts to come like this. So now you don't want it to look like a carrot. So you're going to do a little bit of shaping with your fingers. And sometimes the strawberry has a little indent, like a kind of like an indented chin on the bottom of it. So you take your little stick, kind of just roll it back and forth to make that indent on the bottom of the strawberry. There we go. So there. So we have a strawberry now. It's our little bottom. And the most important thing with strawberry is it has those little dimples. So we're going to take the back of the stick, and we're just going to kind of push up and in. And if you see, it kind of looks like the little seeds that are outside of the strawberry. Again, gentle hand when you're holding the strawberry, because as you spin it, if you notice, the more pressure you put on the front, you lose your dimples in the back. So be a little more heavy-handed with the dimples, because as you go, they will soften. And again, you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to be symmetrical. It's a piece of fruit. They are all different, and they're all unique, and it is good. All right, so now we've done this, and we've got that little strawberry shape with the little notations. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you could dip your stick in the yellow and go in with a little bit of yellow dots. You won't see it as much on the red, but it will highlight if the light hits it, it'll shine on it a little bit. Okay? All right, and again, I have a little bit of the green left over, so I'm going to make some little strawberry leaves. I'm going to do the leaf on the strawberry a little different. I'm going to take my piece, I'm going to roll it into a ball, always good to start with a ball, and then I'm going to roll it flat so that I have a little stick like this, and then I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to pinch both sides. Pinch and pinch. So then I have two little leaves on both sides. We can take that, and we can just place that on the strawberry. I'm just going to take it, pinch it toward the center, and see how it comes like that. Then it looks like a cute little tip. So we're going to take that, and we're going to place this on the strawberry. And we'll take our stick, and we will push it to the center of the strawberry. And as you push it in, it kind of bends up a little bit and looks a little bit more realistic. There we go. And then if you want to put a little indentation on the leaves, you can. And there you go. Perfect. And again, I wanted to do the double technique on here. So I'm going to get my paintbrush, and I'm going to go into that red. And I'm just going to paint it a little bit more with the red. So again, I have a little dimension on there. And make it a little bit more realistic looking. And there we go. And there's our little marzipan strawberry. And again, if you lost that little indentation on the bottom, you can make it again. And then you can place it on our Bûche de Noël. Put it right next to the orange. Now, if you don't have the gel food colorings, you could use good old-fashioned food coloring liquid form. Just be very careful. It doesn't take to the marzipan as easily, so it's going to be a little harder for you to work that in. Make sure you have something down, parchment paper or wax paper, because you definitely are going to get messy if you're using liquid food coloring. So for the peach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a teeny bit of that red that I made, and I'm going to take my basic color, and I'm going to kind of take a look here. I'm going to work it in, and I'm just going to barely push on it, barely push it in, and we're going to get this lovely kind of swirl to it where it looks like a peach. And you're just going to work it until you get the perfect combination of what you want. I'm actually going to do a little bit more red, and I'm going to paint on a little bit of yellow. I'm going to put some powdered sugar on my fingers so that I'm not getting too sticky, and then I'm going to roll it again. And the more you roll it, the more you get that beautiful marbleization. And again, you get that kind of look of a peach. So the easiest way to know that a peach is what? That indentation on the side. Nectarines and peaches have that kind of little indent. It looks like a little peach butt. So we need to make a little peach butt on our peach. And again, the easiest way to do that is a stick. I mean, out of all these tools, I have a beautiful set of tools, and I find myself going back to a wooden dowel, just a good old bamboo skewer stick. It's very versatile, and you can use it for so many different things, and it's disposable. So then we're going to just take our little round, I just did total round, and then we're just going to kind of indent here. We're going to take from the center and go down and get that indent. Now the peach usually has a point to the end, so we're just going to kind of work it to make it a point to the end. And here we go. So you got that beautiful little indent there. And then we're going to make it complete once we put our little leaf on the back. There we go. All right, let's get our little leaf. I have a little bit of green left, just a tiny bit, and that's all I'm going to use. And I'm just going to, again, start everything from a circle. I'm just going to pinch. I'm going to flatten and pinch. Flatten and pinch. Flatten and pinch. So I just have a little leaf coming out there. And once I have that, I'm just going to put that on my peach, and then my peach will be good. I'm going to place it in the center, and again, my favorite tool. Just push that in with the stick. Give that leaf a little indentation. And if you have, see how I'm trying to do this? I'm trying to put it on there and it's not sticking. If you use just a little bit of water, I'm going to dip this just a little bit in water, it'll stick. You don't want to do too much though, because then you'll make it super sticky and the colors could run. But there's our little peach. Isn't that guy cute? And we're going to put him on our little Bûche de Noël as well. Stack them right on top. And you could just do it on the end. Perfect. Put it right there. There we go. Perfect. Wonderful. So just lends to that. We can make a little, I have the red here. Can put some green on this. Maybe do a little thing of grapes. So all I did was I took some of the marzipan here, and I'm going to make grapes out of it. So I just took it, and I colored it green, and I rolled it out, and I'm just going to cut little pieces, make it a little easier on myself, and then I'm going to roll them into little grapes. Because you could do green grapes, you could do red grapes, you could do purple grapes. But they're all fun. The idea of this is to have fun with it and be creative. Like I said, again, there's no right or wrong when you're doing this. All right. So all I did was roll, and then I just kind of squished them all together. Squished my little grapes together. And you just kind of put them together, and then you just get a little group of grapes. That's pretty much one of the easiest marzipans you can do. You're just making a little bunch of grapes. And stick it together with a little water. And again, you can do, you can make a little stem out of some brown. We'll do green and red. Green and red make brown. So we'll put a little green on the red here. We'll work that in. And again, you get messy, you get colorful, it's okay. All right. All right, so last little marzipan fruit, I'm going to do a little grape here. And put a little, and I put a little vine on the grape. Just twist a little vine. And then I can put that on there too. And there's my little group of grapes. And there we go. The last thing I'm going to show you is how to make a poinsettia out of fondant. All right, so you at home, I know you have these colors here. I know you don't have the green. We made that here. So I gave you enough white so that you can make some green, so you can make some leaves. But you have these two colors, so I know we can do the poinsettia leaves themselves. So you at home and you here, take your white, your chunk of white fondant, and you want to use most of it, not all of it. Take a little bit out, maybe a pea size out, because we're going to use that as a stamen in the center. And you're going to mix the white and that maroon. But you're not going to completely mix it. I don't want to make one color. I want to see the beautiful striation in the fondant. So you're just going to mix it. All of the maroon, yes. All of the maroon and almost all of the white. And you don't want to overmix it. You want to have something that looks like this. So it's going to be kind of marbly. You want to keep that marble. And then you're just going to put some powdered sugar down. And you're going to take your little roller. And you're going to roll out your fondant. And you're going to make it relatively thin. Not super, super thin. But you're going to be doing petals, so you don't want anything super thick. Now again, you're working with fondant. It is going to dry, but it's going to take it's going to take longer than a gum paste would, and it won't dry as hard as fast. It eventually will get as hard as gum paste, but it takes quite some time. Now, if you notice that you have too much powdered sugar on there, just take it and dust it off with your hand. Give it a little dust. All right. Then I'm going to push mine out of the way. Now you have some leaf shapes. I like to cut my own, but you do have some leaf shapes if you'd like to use them as a guide. But the poinsettia leaves are a little bigger. So we're going to take our knives And you're going to cut the shape of a poinsettia leaf, and I'll tell you what that is. It's pointed at the top, goes very wide, and then has a long base, okay? So what we're going to do, all right, is we're going to cut at the top, come wide around, and then come back to a long base. Point it at the top, wide around, and a long base. And I'll show you how that looks. It's going to look like this. I made it bigger. You don't have to make it this big. I just did this so that you can see. So I'm going to make mine a little smaller now so I can show y'all. When you do the leaves, you want to do them opposite of the petals. So you don't want to put them directly under the petals. You want to put them in between. You know, like your kids' school pictures when they had them stand in between so you could see everybody? That's how you want your leaves. You want them in between the petals. You don't want to lose that pretty depth because you're going for dimension right now. The reason you do that is you want to give it the idea of a 3D. You don't want to be static with it. Everything's more interesting when you have dimension to it. And the leaves, you can get a little creative with it. You can give some, put some veins in the leaves if you want. And these things too, you can paint these just like you were painting everything else. All right. And I'm just going to do that. Do one of the leaves, just take a very basic leaf shape. And I'm going to do some veins in the leaves. So I'm just going to gently draw on the leaf. And just put a few little indentations in there. And give some veins to that leaf. And look at the difference. I mean, look how much different. It looks so much more like a leaf when you have that dimension to it. And we're going to just put that in between underneath. Now, if you find your fondant is drying out or is not sticking, use a little water on your finger. A little water on your finger does wonders for fondant. And there's a trick, too. Once you get your item done, to give it a beautiful shine, paint it with a little vegetable oil. It won't make the fondant stickier because the oil will sit on top of the fondant as opposed to if you were using water. You don't want to clean off fondant with water, like if there's too much powdered sugar. You want to do it with vegetable oil because vegetable oil will make sure that the fondant doesn't lose its shape or melt. If you use too much fondant and too much water on fondant, it will melt. So I'm just going to kind of keep layering underneath more and more leaves. And one thing as well, when you're working on your poinsettia, make sure you have it on a, so you have it on right now, you have it on your parchment paper. Make sure you're going to work on a surface where you don't have to move it, because once you do make this, depending on how big it is, if it's smaller, it will not be hard to move, but the bigger it is, the more chance you have of cracking the leaves as they dry if you're picking up and moving it. So I would suggest building, doing your leaves on the side and maybe building it on a cookie sheet or a piece of cardboard, something that you can move around easily. All right, almost got all these leaves done. And then we can see how this looks when it's all put together. And then we can put that beautiful gold center in there. And if your leaves kind of overlap the bottom, that's okay. That's all good. All right. If you want to pick up the leaves as they start to dry, if you want to pick up the leaves of the poinsettia and give it a little bend, just be very careful not to crack it. But this is the time to do it while it's drying, because then it'll hold the shape a little more. When it's really, really soft, you won't be able to bend it at all. But as it starts to dry, that's when you kind of shape and do a little something different with it. All right. I think I've got my leaves the way that I want them. Now I'm going to do the fun. I told you to keep a little bit of the white left over. That is going to be for the center, the stamen of it. My favorite part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little piece of white, and I'm just going to work it really well because I want it nice and soft so that it will hold whatever indentation I put on it. I'm going to do about a pea size. I'm actually going to take a little less than this. I'm going to do about a pea size. And then I'm going to take a little bit of water, dab the center. You see that was just a little dab. I didn't drip it, just barely touched it. And I'm going to put that little pea size, and I'm going to kind of give it a little push in. But this is where it gets fun. Remember my favorite tool? What's my favorite tool, everybody? My stick. So I'm going to take this stick, and I'm going to start poking at it. And I'm just going to poke at it and poke at it and poke at it and poke at it. Then I'm going to start pushing it back in, and I'm going to continue to poke at it because I'm trying to get some dimension and some depth in there and to make it look like the inside of a poinsettia. So you just kind of keep working at it and poking at it and working at it and poking at it. Just make sure you don't do too hard because you don't want to put a hole through the bottom. Now I have some beautiful texture on it, what I was looking for. I'm going to go back to my paintbrush, and I'm going to take that gold, this beautiful gold, and I'm going to dab in on it. I'm going to make sure I don't have too much because I want to make sure that I still keep that dimension. And I'm going to dab. I'm not really painting, I'm more dabbing because I want to get in those little cracks. Okay. And this is going to make it look beautiful. And the cool thing about this gold is you can use it on the leaves and the petals as well. And now I'm going to use a little of the green food coloring to give even more dimension. See how that kind of brings out a deeper green in there? Just going to kind of follow along the veins, the little lines in the veins I made, to give it a little bit more. And then I can go back and do the same thing on the petals with some red. Because we didn't do a true red poinsettia, again, we did that kind of. There we go. There's our Christmas poinsettia. We can put this, carefully, on top of our Bûche de Noël as well. All right, my friends, so you can go ahead and continue finishing up. We're going to finish up the online. So thank you all those at home who stuck with us and went through and did this with us. Hopefully you had a good time doing it. If you have any questions about anything, you definitely email the library and they can get that information to me. And I can get you any answers, hopefully, if I have them, or any other direction. But I hope you enjoy these, and Have a wonderful holiday, and thanks for being here.